What's up, Internet? Caleb with BoredTimeThings here. Today I've got something a little different. I'm going to be joined with Robbie from RetroLand Comics, and we're going to go over our 5 favorite retro games. Now I'm going to pass it over to Robbie, and he's going to start with his number 5.
How y'all doing? This is Rob Burnham, ATA Preacher Man R&B, and this is my top 5 list for the video I'm doing with BoredTimeThings. This is my top 5 retro games. My number 5 is probably going to be Eternal Champions. Now, Eternal Champions is actually a fighting game for the Sega Genesis. And this was actually my first introduction to fighting games in general. I didn't get started with Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or none of that. It was actually this. Or also, it was the fighting X-Men fighting game that they had on the Genesis as well, but I like this one better and I actually own this one, so that's why this is my top 5. I like the game mechanics, I like the characters. The guy I used was, I can't remember his name, it was the big black guy with the green suit. He had these gauntlets. I played with him every time I played the game. I played it with my little brother and my cousins. It's just an all-around fun fighting game, early retro fighting game, so that's my number 5.
Alright, my number 5 is Metal Slug. I played this a lot on the Wii through the Metal Slug anthology growing up. Played it a lot with my college roommates and a lot with my brother. I did play it in arcades when I got the chance, and I remember specifically one time playing it so long that I got a hand cramp from hitting the shoot button so much. Now, these games are pretty hard, but they're fair, so memorizing the pickups and enemy spawns is crucial. Graphically, this game was super unique for its time. The company that made it wanted to make a war game, but didn't want it to reflect any real conflict, so they decided to make it cartoony. While the game is pretty violent, it's so over the top that it's almost slapstick. If you want to give your thumbs a workout, this game is definitely for you.
Alright, y'all, this is my number 4. This is my first introduction to a first-person shooter game when I was little. I love the story mode of this game, but I also love the multiplayer, and I played the multiplayer the most when I played this game. It is Goldeneye 007 for the N64. Now, I didn't have this game growing up, but my cousins did, and every time we went over to my grandma's house, because my cousins live right there beside my grandma, me, my little brother, and my cousin used to play this every weekend. It's pretty much the only game we really played besides a couple of more games on this list. But yeah, I just love the mechanics of 007 GoldenEye, and it was my first introduction to first-person shooters. I've never really been good at first-person shooters, but I really enjoyed this game, so that is my number 4.
My number 4 is Pokémon Silver. This game blew my little kid mind. After playing Pokemon Blue, it was amazing to see the Pokemon world in full color. Everything that made the first games great were just cranked up for the sequel. Just when you think you've beaten the story of the game, you realize you're only halfway through, and you can travel to the world of the first game to continue your journey to catch 'em all. This game did get a remaster on the Nintendo DS, but the chiptunes and pixel art to me are already perfect, so there was never a need to go play it on a newer system. I know I put countless hours into this game, and it ruined me for future generations of Pokemon, and that's why it's my number 4.
Alright, y'all, this is my number 3. This game, was a big instance like the game I just told y'all. I played this mostly at my cousin's house because they had this game first, and then I finally eventually got it. But this game I played a whole bunch of hours on. I didn't ever finish the game, but I put a bunch of hours in on it. And the game I'm talking about is Super Mario 64. I love this game. It is one of my go-tos now that I actually own it. I want to finish the game eventually. But like I said, I've never actually finished the game, but I love the story mechanics. I love the 3D aspects to it because it was actually the first 3D Mario game. And I just love this game very a lot. One day I hope I can finish it.
My number 3 is Metroid Fusion.
This was my first game on the Game Boy Advance. I remember seeing an ad for this game in a magazine and talking about it so much that I'm pretty sure that's why Santa Claus got my brother and I GBAs for Christmas. To this day, it's my favorite handheld console. It was really tough choosing between Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime for the list, but I ultimately chose Fusion because it was my introduction to the series. I played the heck out of this game, especially on long car trips to soccer tournaments and things like that. I got to a point where I could beat the story in under 2 hours, which I thought was really good for 11-year-old me. Speedrunners are doing it in about an hour 15, so I'll take it. And after replaying it for this list, this game holds up extremely well. Maybe I'll do a deep dive into the Metroid series one day. Until then, that's my pick.
Alright, y'all, this is my number 2. This game I played a ton of, and I also like this little mechanic that this game has along with it. But this game is Sonic and Knuckles. This was my first introduction. This actually, I think, is the first time Knuckles ever appeared in a game. But Knuckles is my favorite character of all time. I love Sonic and Knuckles. If there's any chance I play a Sonic game and I got the opportunity to play with Knuckles, I'm going to take that because he's my favorite Sonic character. And I also like the mechanic. If y'all see here, on the cartridge, there's actually a slot where another game to connect to it. That is for Sonic 2. So whenever you connect your Sonic 2 to that top spot and you put the Sonic and Knuckles inside the Sega Genesis, you can actually play as Knuckles playing the Sonic 2 game. And I love that mechanic as well. Like I said, any chance I got to play as Knuckles, I'm going to take it. That is why Sonic and Knuckles is my number 2.
Number 2 is a big one. Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Like Pokémon Silver, this game perfectly captured everything that made the game before it great and fine-tuned it to perfection while also expanding it. There's no telling how many hours I put into this game, and this one was always fun with friends and was a staple whenever we got together for nearly 10 years. One of my favorite things about this one, though, is the adventure mode. It allowed you to play as your favorite Nintendo characters and go through the many worlds of other Nintendo games. But while this mode was fun, the real fun came with sitting in a room with friends and yelling at each other for hogging the sides, getting cheat points, spamming moves, hogging all the items, and just all kinds of craziness. And while the sequels are great, this one will always hold a special place in my heart. Melee forever.
Alright, before my number 1, I got 2 honorable mentions I'm about to mention. My first honorable mention is the second Mario Kart game, Mario Kart 64. I love the 3D aspect to this game. I played it a lot when I was a kid. And also, if you notice, this cartridge that I have is actually a Japanese version of the game. I found this a couple of years back. I love playing Mario Kart. Mario Kart's a good, just hanging out and chill type of game for me. And my other honorable mention is the first Super Smash Bros. I love the Super Smash Bros. Series. This is the game that got me started in it. But it's just a very awesome fighting game. And you can fight as Mario and Donkey Kong and all your favorite characters. And I can't wait to see what the future renditions of the game actually come up with, because they've been doing pretty much a bunch of stuff here lately. Can't wait to see what they do next.
I've already talked about it once, so it only makes sense that my honorable mention is Metroid Prime.
While Metroid Fusion was the first game I had on the Game Boy Advance, this game was my first GameCube game. Every Metroid game up to this point was a 2D side-scrolling adventure. Retro Studios pulled off the impossible by turning it into a first-person shooter and bringing over the mechanics absolutely flawlessly. You've still got all the item collection, you've still got secrets to find, and the environmental world puzzles are all still intact. Fun fact, my parents were strict followers of the ESRB, and even though I was 12 when I got this T-rated game, it was allowed because you were shooting aliens, not people. But anyways, here's hoping for news on Prime 4 this year. Now over to Robbie for his number 1.
Now is my number 1 pick of all time. I got this game in my early teens, like 12, 13 years old. I play this game every day. I actually own this game myself. But it's a platforming game, and I just love the story. I love the way they designed the game. It is the Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. This is the first Paper Mario game for Nintendo. I just love the aspect of it. I loved how it's hand-drawn characters, and just like the paper mechanics of it. You can Mario can turn into a paper airplane sometimes. It's a very cool mechanic. I like the storyline. I like the references in it. There's actually a little part of the game where you fight the Koopa brothers, and they're actually, it's not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but you can tell they're parodied in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just love this game, and that is my number one.
And finally, my number one game, Starfox 64.
If I had to live with only one game for the rest of my life, it would be this one. This one's also got a lot of good childhood memories attached to it. I remember renting this over and over and over again at one of our local video stores, so much that my parents asked if I wanted to try something different. I rarely did. Then one day we went to a video game store just to look around, and we left empty-handed, or so I thought, because when we got home, I think it was my mom who pulled this game out from a bag she had hidden away in the vehicle and somehow bought without us seeing. It was a good day. But to me, this is a perfect game. It's one that's made to be played through in a single sitting, as it takes about 45 minutes to get to the end credits, but it is infinitely replayable. It's got enough challenge for players of all skill levels, as there are multiple routes you can take to the final boss. If you want a challenge, you'll have to figure out the secrets or meet certain conditions in each level to unlock the more challenging levels and get to the true final boss. If you want a more relaxed experience, just do what the game asks of you. Want something in between? Do a little of both. At the time, I had never played or seen anything like this. This was the first game I played with full voice acting from the opening to the ending. Starring a cast of anthropomorphic animals, it plays like a cool Saturday morning cartoon with just enough attitude and cheesy dialogue to make it a timeless classic. I could go on and on about this game, but I think I'll save that for another video.
And there you have it, another top 5 list in the books. This was pretty fun because this is my first team-up video, collaboration, whatever you want to call it, and it was good to have Robbie along for it. So if you'd like to know more about Robbie and his RetroLand comics, you can check out his channel at RetroLand Comics on YouTube. He does retro movie reviews almost every day, movie and TV, and he also puts out teasers for the comic books he's working on. Check him out. Until next time, BoredTimeThings, out.
Subscribe to me, type in RetroLand Comments. I'm on YouTube, Discord. I have a RetroLand Comments Facebook page, whole 9 yards. Y'all just look me up.